Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I want to share with you all of the books that I have read so far during the month of March. So since this is middle grade March, I have read a lot of books this month already, and so I figured I would break up my wrap up into two parts so that it's not super long by the end of the month. I have already read 14 books this month, which is pretty much what I was expecting to have read. Things have slowed down a little bit just here in the past week due to the corona stuff. But for the most part, I'm on pace at where I was expecting to be. A lot of these books I have already mentioned in other videos. So I have another video up about reading the Newbery books. I have a video up about reading Pam Munoz Ryan. And so that's a lot of these books. So I'm just going to very quickly go through the books that I have already mentioned in other videos. And you can check those videos out if you want to hear more about my thoughts about those specific books. But for my reading Newbery books vlog, I read Holes by Louis Sikar. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It's like 3.5. I really enjoyed this. But yeah, so like 3.5 stars. I read The Girl Who Drank the Moon. This was like a 2.5 for me. I didn't really like it. I'm probably going to actually downgrade it to a 2-star read on Goodreads because I just didn't really care for it that much. I also read Flora and Ulysses by Kate DiCamillo. This was a 3-star read. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I thought there were some good points made in this book, but it wasn't like standout fantastic for me. I also read Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. This one I really enjoyed. This was 4 stars for me. I thought this was just a great historical fiction for young kids. It has to do with World War II. And then the last one I read was From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsberg, and I gave this one 3 stars. I think after talking with some people about it, I think this one resonates more with kids than it does adults. My daughter read this and she really enjoyed it, so I think it's just a case of I wasn't the age demographic for it, maybe. But anyway, that was a 3-star read as well. I enjoyed it. It just wasn't fantastic for me. And then the other video that I've already put up with like a set of books in it is a vlog about reading Pam Munoz Ryan books over a weekend. And so the books that I read for that quickly are Writing Freedom. I give this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was great. It follows a girl, Charlie, who is a stagecoach driver, and she ended up kind of follows her throughout her life, but it is based on the true story of Charlie, somebody, I don't remember what her name was, Charlie Darkey Parkhurst, who was the first woman ever to vote in the United States. So that was kind of fun to learn at the end. And then the other books, I listened to Paint the Wind, which is a book about wild horses. I gave that one 3 stars. It was good. I also I listened to Manana Land, which is Pam Munoz Ryan's new release book, and I thought that one was good as well. Gave that one probably 3.5 stars. I don't technically do half-star ratings, but when you have a big group of books like this, sometimes it like helps differentiate what you like a little bit more than others. But it'll go into Goodreads as a 3-star book. And then I also read Becoming Naomi Leone, and this was 5 stars. I loved this book so much. This is just why I love Pam Munoz Ryan. So I read those 4 Pam Munoz Ryan books as well. So that's 9 books. And then my other 5 books that I have read, I'll get into now. So I read Anne of the Island by Ellen Montgomery. This is for the Annalong that Tia from Tia and All the Books and I are hosting. I loved this book. I didn't really care for Anne of Avonlea, which we read last month, very much. And so I was kind of nervous going into this one, but I really loved this one. This follows Anne as she's in college, and yeah, it's just about her, and all of her friends are starting to get married and move on in life. And I really enjoyed that. Can't really talk too much about it because it's the 3rd book in the series. I also listened to Save Me a Seat by Sarah Weeks and Geeta Varadarajan. I don't know. It's an Indian name. My daughter saw this book and said that she had started reading it in school, and so I went ahead and listened to it really quick. It was like a 4-hour audiobook, and so with it sped up, it read really super fast. But it is about two boys who attend the same school, and it kind of goes back and forth between their point of view. But one of them is Indian. He moved here from India, and he's starting at the new school, and it's just about the way that he assimilates to the school. And then the other kid is a kid that has just been getting bullied at school. And this I thought was really good. One of the topics that it covers in here is, I think it's called APD. But Joe, the kid that gets bullied at the school, has this, it's like auditory processing disorder, I think is what it is. But it's basically everybody thinks that he is stupid and he just has a hard time focusing when there's a lot of noise around. So he goes to a resource classroom a lot. And so there's conversation in it about that. There's conversation in it about his mom works at the school and he doesn't like that. And so he confronts his parents at one point in the book and just says, how come you guys get to do all of this and you don't get to ask my opinion? And I like the way that that aspect of it was handled. And then from Ravi's point of view, the Indian boy, it's just kind of his family really, really, it's important for them, for him to assimilate well. And if things aren't going well for him, they want to intervene. And he's trying to find his own, like, way at the school and trying to pick up on different social cues and just find his place. And it was good. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, so that one was 4 stars for me. And a book that I read out loud to my kids was The Very, Very Far North by Dan Barrell. This one, when I first started it, it kind of reminded me of Winnie the Pooh because it's all about a polar bear, Dwayne, and him meeting all of these character like friends up in the very, very far north. But then as we were getting further into the book, it became less and less like Winnie the Pooh, and it was just kind of these little vignettes of how he meets each of these characters. And there's like 9 different characters. These are all the different characters. So there's an owl and a puffin and an Arctic fox and an Arctic hare and a muskox and a caribou, and then a little Eskimo girl with her sled dog pack. And then there's also a painter, human painter, that he comes in contact with. And it was cute, but the one thing I will say about this book that I was not a fan of was the chapters are really, really long. And so there's not a lot of chapters, but when I'm reading it out loud to my kids and they're like not feeling it, it's hard to find a good stopping point because the chapters were so long. And more times than not, they were like, Mom, when is the chapter going to be over? Like, I'm over it. I'm done. Like, let's move on. And that's not always a great sign when I'm reading out loud to my kids. So it was cute. There's a lot of illustrations in here. I was going to see if I could find one because there's just cute little illustrations in it. But overall, this was just a 2-star read for me. There wasn't like a big storyline plot. One of the things I did like was some of the characters had characteristics that were like people who maybe in your real life, like, so one of the characters didn't like to be touched. So even though Dwayne liked to hug people, he knew that this friend of his didn't like to be touched. And so he had to find another way to show her that he cared about her rather than hugging her. And, one of the characters was very vain and very, all about his appearance. And so the polar bear would have to figure out how to get him to do things when he only cared about himself. And, there were different characters that had like different characteristics that he kind of, and I think it helps kids learn how to process working with people that are different than you and how do you adapt to that. And so that I did like about it, but overall for a story for middle grade, it was just okay. And then I also read Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga. This was brilliant. This was 5 stars for me. This is written in verse, and it is about a Muslim girl, Judah, who moves to Ohio from Syria. And it is just about the process of that. Her and her mom move here without her brother and her dad. And they are back in Syria trying to maintain life. Her dad owns like a little store, I think, and her brother is active in like the resistance and is putting himself in dangerous positions. And her mom move to the United States to live with her uncle. And it's just about her being at school and her process of moving here as a Muslim girl. And I thought it was great. It was a fantastic book. I actually made my 10-year-old read this after I got done with it because it was just I enjoyed it so much. So this one was fantastic. Definitely pick this one up. And once again, it reads really, really fast because it's written in verse. So, and then the last book that I've read so far this month is a graphic novel that I read via ebook from my library, and that is Katherines War by Julia Billet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a French name, and so I don't speak French. But this is translated from French into English, and it is a graphic novel that covers this little girl who lived at an orphanage during World War II. She was Jewish, and or at this school that was like an orphanage, and the leaders of the school kind of all got together and said, hey, we're going to try to help these Jewish kids. How can we do that? You know, we're going to give them all fake identities. We're going to try to hide them within the community. And it's her like story of being hidden and having to assume a different identity and moving from place to place to place, and all these people who helped her throughout the war. At the school, one of the schoolmasters gives her a camera. She's really, really into photography, and so he lets her take the camera with her throughout all of her journeys. And so you're getting these little snapshots of how she's, of the people that mean something to her and how she's connecting with people. It was so good. I gave this one 4 stars. It was great. And then at the end, in the author's note, it talks about how this is based off of Julia's mother's experience, I think, during the war. And even though the story is fictional, a lot of it was based off of her mom, and the leaders at the school were based off of real people. And so it was really, really cute too. The art style in it was really easy to read. I thought it was appropriate for middle graders. And so anyway, gave that one 4 stars as well. So those are the 14 books that I have read so far this month. I hope that your reading month is going well. I have not been reading a lot recently because of life, but I'm hoping to, pick back up and get back on track and knock out some more books here before the end of the month. Anyway, that's going to do it for me today. If you have read any of these, I would love to hear your opinions and your thoughts about all of them. I would also like to hear what you have read this month. What's your favorite book that you've read so far this month? So let me know that in the comments down below. And other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.